Now, we review live streams every month, and if you want us to review yours, which is a common question that we get on these, you have to become an all-access subscriber, which you get a lot of other great things too as an all-access subscriber. So you can check out everything that you get, but wait until we're done here. But there's a link down below for that, or you go to collaborateworship.com. And before we get into this, I want to tell you about a free video series that you need. Don't you think they need it?
I think so.
I think they need it. It's called Consistent Great Sound.
Consistent.
And that's what it'll get you.
I want great sound inconsistently. You got something for that?
No, I don't have anything for that. But if you want great sound consistently, that's what this video series is for. And you'll learn the 5 simple steps that get you there. Again, that's a free video series. You can get access to that using the link in the description or go to collaborateworship.com. All right, now let's get into reviewing some live streams. First up, we have Proceeding Word Church, and they are looking for a more balanced mix. So they're not using DAW at their church. So that's good because I recommend a post-fader bus mix anyway. Maybe we can talk about that later, but let's get in. Let's take a listen to this and see what we can do. All right, first off, I'm going to put my hats off to you. You're using your low cut filter well on those vocals, so good job on that. First thing I noticed that we can improve is the vocal mix is way louder than the instrument mix. So you hear the instruments back there, it's like they hide somewhere in a corner in the back, you know? So we need to balance that out better. Like probably going to bring those vocals down and then bring the instrument mix up and make it more of a full sound. You know, it almost sounds like I'm not even getting direct sound from the instruments, but I'm hearing some kind of room mic or something like that for the instruments. So what we need is more direct sound from the instruments, and that'll help out a lot. And also I noticed that the vocals need some reverb to them. There's not a lot of life to them. They just sound really dry. They probably sound great in the room because there's natural reverb in the room, but when you're listening to a live stream, you don't have that same effect because we're not playing this in a large room. So you got to add reverb to make up the difference. So get some reverb into your live stream mix, and that's going to make a huge difference. I want to turn it over to you for visuals.
All right. Just 2 things. For it being a 1-camera shot, it looks good. I just think your white balance, number 1, it's really close. I think it could just use a little bit of magenta. I just see a little bit too much green in the skin tones. So adjust your tint towards the magenta a little bit. And then let's see if we can center that podium in the shot, because just looking at it, the text on the wall looks centered, so that's awesome. But I'm seeing the podium and also the 2 plants on each side are not centered. So I think that would add a little more visual symmetry to that. Cade's over here listening to the stream. Yeah, good job though. The shot looks good. Just a couple nitpicky things to take it up a notch.
Thank you all for sending that in. Make those improvements and then send it in again. We can go from there. By the way, we're all a work in progress, so never feel like put down by the advice that we give, but it's just like your next step to getting better is all that it is. I want to say hello to Ken from Michigan. Thanks for joining us. We got Joseph on and Kindred Creative, and we have some fun names on here for YouTube names here. But thank you all for tuning in. Everybody else who's joining on, feel free to let us know where you're tuning in from. We got someone from California there. Very good, very good. All right, let's see what's up next.
What do we got? Larry said to try moving the shot up so less headroom, which I would say move the shot down, pan down.
Yeah.
I could tell they were just trying to get the text on the wall for that to look good. But you could pan it down a little bit, so just a little recommendation there from Larry.
We have Josh on here from Budget Church Livestream, and he's like our faithful commenter. I know he'll give some great advice.
He commented on our other video today too, which if you haven't seen that yet, we posted a 2024 Tech Tour update. So we did a tech tour of our church a year and a half ago, and we've made a few upgrades since then. So I just did a quick overview of all the upgrades that we've made. So go check it out.
We're about to make like a lot of upgrades because we're getting ready to move into a space that's 3 times the size we're in now. We're looking forward to learning some new things as we do that.
We're hopefully going to be hiring Chris Trowbridge to help us out. So that'll be helpful.
A team is better.
Yes.
Yes.
He is smarter than us too.
Yes, for sure. All right. So Epic Life Church is up next. Live stream sounds empty. Vocals are louder than instruments. No subs or low end. So let's take a listen and we can help solve those issues.
No, I can't get enough. I can't walk away. No, I can't walk away. No, I can't walk away. For I've seen your face, and I can't walk away. And I just wanna be where you are. And I just wanna be near your heart. 'Cause there is nothing like your love.
I think you're a lot closer than you think you are.
The mix sounds good. It just sounds like
Yeah.
you're in a fishbowl.
Yeah.
Something going on there with that.
I think there's probably just too much effects on it is what I'm hearing. That's what I was trying to discern.
I'm sitting here thinking, I wonder if this is what Sam's in-ear sounded like on Sunday.
Or it could be that they have the room mic too loud in the live stream mix because that'll give you a fishbowl effect too. There's too much ambience there, whether it be reverb or the room mic. You'll have to figure out what that is, but just bring the ambience down a notch. So the previous live stream was too dry, and this one's what we'd call too wet because it has too much ambience in it. So dial that back a bit. You're going to notice your sound get a little more punchy. And as far as the low end problem that you talked about, I've heard plenty of low end. I thought the bass guitar could be a little bit louder, but other than that, it still had a warm sound, like it was a full frequency spectrum. Vocals sounded nice and clean, so you're EQing those well. And hats off to the acoustic guitar because it sounded good too. And that's something that most people struggle with, is getting an acoustic guitar that sounds good. So I think you must be being a little too hard on yourself because I think you're doing a great job. I would just dial back the ambience and
Submit again and let's see what it sounds like after that. Visually, I'm going to make a comment, the same comment that Larry made a second ago about the headroom. I think we have a little bit too much headroom going on here. So I would pan your shot down. And then your white balance it's cool and it's magenta. So let's adjust your warmth and your tint. So it needs to be warmed up. So that you can look at her shirt, and it might also be because she has some colored lighting shooting at her, but her white shirt is kind of blue, or I guess it's not a shirt, it's a cardigan, if we're being specific. But there's some blue in the skin tones. I'm getting overcomplicated here. So just warm it up a little bit and then move your tint towards the green a tiny bit to get those skin tones looking a little more natural. I always say, look at your shot and then go up on the stage and look at your skin and then compare it to the shot. And you just want it to look like your eyes are showing you natural.
good. Now, I did notice it sounded a little more digital than most live streams. Like you get that effect anyway because it's the nature of live streaming. So I'm wondering if there's maybe an audio bit rate issue, something that needs to change there.
Or maybe something added in the software, like some kind of audio effect.
Yeah. Somewhere the audio is being degraded a little bit too much. So I'd kind of go through the process and make sure you're getting high quality audio all the way through to the live stream. Because I don't think there should be that many digital artifacts in there unless you just have a rough internet connection. And so you really have to dial down the quality.
Yeah, Josh made a good point there too, which I was going to say and then I forgot. But the pianist is kind of cut off. So I'd say either adjust that shot to where she's not in it or she is instead of being halfway in it. Either widen it or tighten it.
Sweet.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah. All right. Up next, let's see. Ebenezer Community Church. Wait, is that the right one? Yeah. Better sounding kick, drum, and a live stream mix, and general improvement to the overall sound. And he's asking if drums on stage are loud, is it a good idea to use a low pass filter on vocals to reduce bleed? I guess he's talking about cymbals being too loud in that case. I wouldn't do that. I don't want to cut the high frequencies out of the vocals because then they'll sound a little bit dull. And a crash cymbal's like primary frequency range is like 5 kilohertz, somewhere around there, which is it's a frequency range in a vocal that provides clarity. So if you cut that out, the vocal's not going to sound clear anymore. So no, I wouldn't do that. Instead, I would just reposition the vocals and try to get them further away from the drums, or you can even implement like partial drum shields, which is what we have at our church. We just have shields that are about, this big in front of the cymbals to keep them out of the vocal mics. It's not a perfect solution, but it does dial it back a little bit. You've also probably seen the circular drum shields. Maybe not, maybe you have, but there's circle ones out there that'll work.
The ones we have are better than the circular ones.
They kind of like curve around it.
I talked about it in the tech tour that we released today. So if you want an example, go look at that.
What are they called?
Smokin' Ace drum shields.
That's a cool name.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're smoking anything, but
All right. So go get your Smokin' Ace drum shield. All right, here we go. Let's take a listen. All right, is it just me or does it seem like it was sped up?
I could tell you did the same thing I did. You went to check to see if it was.
Yeah. It sounded like the playback speed was like 1.2 or something like that.
I feel like their tempo is just really fast.
There's just that, how you get that jittery sound whenever you're in music, whenever you increase the playback speed? I don't know. I would check if you're like editing this or posting it later.
Where would it be sped up at?
I don't know. But anyway. But if you are speeding it up before you post it, don't do that. Let people kind of decide that on their own. Okay, so the kick drum, you wanted us to comment on that. I think it sounds pretty good. It's just a little bit too loud. It's like the main thing in the mix. So I would dial that back a bit in the mix. You could probably bring some clarity to it because I'm not really hearing the snappy part of the kick drum. And where that is somewhere around 6 to 8 kilohertz. A lot of people will add a peaking filter somewhere in that range, wherever that kick beater sound is, to increase the clarity of the kick drum. So you might try that to get the result that you're looking for. I hear your electric guitar panned all the way over to the right. When it comes to panning, that's called hard panning, whenever you kind of get it all the way over to one side or most of the way over to one side. Generally not recommended. I would bring him a little bit further back to center. It's great that you want to pan him over one way or the other to provide some separation. Just don't go more than like 30% or so as a general rule of thumb.
Hallelujah.
Aside from that, I would work on your balance between your vocals and your instruments. Vocals are way louder than your instruments, so we need to balance that out. Aside from the electric guitar, I could hear it pretty good over there, so it needs some more depth to the mix. So like more of the bass guitar and just fill in that space with your instruments. And I noticed your vocals kind of poking in and out of the mix too, which means that they need some more compression on them. So dial in the compression on your vocals to get some more control there. I have a video that will walk you through all the details of vocal compression, but just to give you kind of a synopsis of what you need to do is set the threshold on a compressor until the gain reduction meter is averaging about 3 to 6 dB. If you compress more than that, the vocal kind of starts to lose its life. But if you compress less than that, then there's not enough control there. So adjust your threshold on all of your vocals until that gain reduction meter, which is a little meter on your compressor settings screen, is hitting that kind of -6 dB mark. What do you think about visuals, Dylan?
So the shot we're on right now, it's a little overexposed. So I would adjust your exposure on this shot here a bit. Mostly in those people in the front. The people in the back aren't overexposed, but you can tell those people in the front are getting more light hitting their face. And a second ago, I saw a shot of the congregation, and it was a little too tight. So I mostly just saw one lady and whatever she was doing, whether she was like looking at her watch or she was singing. So I would recommend on that congregation shot, just widen that up and show a bigger chunk of the congregation so you're not so focused on one person and what they're doing. Can you scrub to see if there's any more shots there?
I want to see if it's kick drum that was making the camera shake. I think it is.
Yeah, I was going to say with the shake, it's kind of hard to give a recommendation without seeing what the problem is. It might be stomping or someone moving around next to it. I don't see it anywhere on the floor, so it must be mounted on the wall or something. So here's a much better congregation shot. You're just seeing everybody. Although seeing those people in the bottom right corner on the stage is a little strange. It's like you'd either want them to be occupying at least a third of the shot or just not at all, in my opinion. The exposure on this shot looks good. Oh, what happened? Oh, that was on our end. The footage went out for a second. Yeah, see this close up here. I'm wondering if that's just like an important lady in the church, which, I mean, if that's what you're going for, that's fine. It's a little weird to just be focused on her for a second. You do you, though, if that's what you want to do. That shot looks pretty good. It might be a tiny bit overexposed. I like the Christmas tree over there. That's big. So I just work on those few things, and that'll take it up another notch, but good job.
Yeah, thanks for sending that in. All righty.
Yeehaw.
Up next, we have Church of Grace New Beginning. They're just looking at getting the right mix on the live stream. Aren't we all? All right, here we go.
Aquí en mi corazón, oh Dios. Aleluya. Estarás tú velando como las 10 vírgenes. Estarás tú velando como las 10 vírgenes. Y a la medianoche llegó el esposo y las que estaban apercibidas fueron con él. Y a la medianoche llegó el esposo y las que estaban apercibidas fueron con él. Y a la medianoche llegó el esposo.
All right, so on your lead vocal, you could dial up that low cut filter a little bit. She sounded a little bit too heavy. So bring that up the frequency spectrum a little bit to clean up her vocal, and that could probably apply to all the vocals. And again, similar to the first stream that we reviewed, the vocals are quite a bit louder than the instruments. So I would bring that balance more together. So it's kind of just missing a whole aspect of the sound because the instruments sound like they're off in the background. Bring them a little closer to the foreground. You're going to notice your sound have a lot more energy. And also on your vocals, they need some reverb. They're sounding pretty dry, and reverb is just kind of what brings your vocal to life on a live stream. Again, they probably sound great in the room because your room has a natural reverb, but in a live stream, it's just dry. There's no reverb bouncing around in these headphones, so you got to add it in. It's going to take your mix to the next level. It's really going to like widen out the sound.
Sounded like it might have been close to peaking too, the overall sound.
They're running it. I didn't have to bring this up near as loud as the other ones, so you're probably right.
Does it need a limiter then?
No, probably just the volume of the overall live stream can be brought down just a hair.
What does it do if your volume's too high and then you do have a limiter? So it's not actually going to peak, but it's going to hit that ceiling a lot.
It'll sound like it's sucking in and out the sound. Yeah.
Don't want that.
Nope.
Okay, visually, that first main shot, the first thing I noticed is that it was skewed and the stage also wasn't centered. So I would fix that if you could. And then looking at this one, the white balance is a little bit off and it's also a little overexposed. So if we look at that white on the back wall, that will give you a really good indication of how to set your white balance and your exposure. So you don't want that to be a blown out white, and you don't want it to be have any color in it, magenta, green, warmth, or cold tones. So let's warm the shot up a little bit, push the magenta towards the green, and then let's level out both of these shots so they're not leaning one way or the other. and center that main shot. So here we are back on the main one. You can see those white lines on the stage are tilted, and then they're also not in the middle. Neither is the logo. So let's do those two things, and you'll have some good shots there.
Very good. Thank you for sending that in. All right. Next up, we have Washington, and a name that I can't pronounce, so I'm not going to try. But they're looking for better sound for their live stream. Let's see. They started working on this in December, but they're looking for help with their camera and their sound. So here we go.
Let cheerful on them fill his house. Why to the sacred shrine I move? Happy day, when Jesus washed my sins away. He taught me how to watch and pray, and live rejoicing every day. Happy day, when Jesus washed my sins away. He's done the great transaction done.
Overall, you have a really good thing going on. I'm just going to give you a few things that'll take it up to the next level. And the first one is that your background vocal was too loud in the mix, so it sounded like she was competing with the lead vocal. So I would bring her down a little bit. And I was also noticing the background vocal was just sounding a little like thin and tinny. There wasn't really any warmth or depth to the background vocal. So I would take a look at the EQ on that vocal and just make sure you're not cutting out too much of the low end, or maybe you're boosting in the high end. If you're doing that, you can bring that down. There's no reason to boost in that area, just to bring some warmth back to that vocal. So bring some warmth back to the background vocal and then bring it down in the mix so that it's more filling in space and not competing with the lead vocal. And I also noticed that the vocals need some reverb on this stream as well. There was some reverb on the drums, and the piano had some reverb to it, but the vocals were dry. So add some reverb to those vocals. It's really going to make a huge difference in your live stream mix. Dylan.
The aforementioned things on the last couple streams with the angle being straight and level and the white balance being good, those both look good here, so good job. I think it looks a little bit warm, but I kind of like it. I don't think it needs to be cooled down or anything. So white balance looks good. Exposure looks good. I can tell the camera is tilted down a little bit, so that's making some of the lines not completely straight, but I don't think it looks bad. So I wouldn't really worry about it. I bet you probably can't do anything about that anyway. I know that we have to tilt our camera down quite a bit to get over people's heads. So it's pretty high up and then it's tilting down. Sometimes you just got to roll with what you can do, but good job. One thing I would say is those lyrics, trying to think what a better solution would be in terms of how they look. I think I would like it better if they were centered instead of off to the left, center aligned. And I can tell you added an outline to the words so that they're more visible. If you're able to, I would suggest adding some bars behind the words maybe. I've seen a few people do that. I'm not really sure what software you're using though, so you can reach out to me and maybe I can help you with that. The words just look a little bit jumbled up and messy, so let's find another solution for that, I would say. Josh, have any comments on that?
Move the Apple Pencil. He's being nitpicky. See the Apple Pencil on her iPad? You would notice that, Josh. Samuel loves the lyric organization, so he's going to disagree with you on that. And honestly, I don't mind it either. Something that actually is a pet peeve of mine, because I'm always looking to see how readable things are. And it's really hard to read centered text, especially when there's multiple lines. And I'm a web developer as well, so I'll get on websites. Sometimes there'll be a big paragraph that's all centered aligned, and it's hard because your eye goes from left to right. And you need to hit the same left point whenever you're reading. Of course, here you're reading very slowly, and there's only 2 lines of text, so not as big of a deal. But since there's 2 languages here and there's so many lines, I kind of like it left aligned. If there were only 2 lines, it'd probably bother me that they were left. But
yeah, that makes sense because they've got 2 languages there too.
Yeah.
Can you read that bottom one?
Yeah. No. Yeah, hard to do multiple languages at once, but I think they found a good solution here. So take note, everybody who's doing multiple languages.
Consensus, I'm wrong.
We proved Dylan wrong. All right, next up is FBC Vidalia. They're trying to increase the quality of their sound. They're more focused on audio right now than video, so we'll tell Dylan to hush on this one. No, I'm just playing. But let's take a listen. Oh my gosh, I love this song and I haven't heard it in a while. That's awesome. I think you have a great thing going, great thing started here. Drums are kind of dominating the mix, so bring those down a little bit so they're not dominating the mix. There's not really a lead vocal in the mix. They're all kind of the same as far as the mix goes. So I'd bring your lead vocal to the top of the mix and then make your background vocals more of a blended fill to the mix.
Never runs out on me. Your love never fails, it never gives up. Never runs out on me. Your love never fails, it never gives up.
So I can really tell that your drums are dominating the mix right there in that quiet moment, because the gate is allowed, or the limiter is allowed to let go whenever the drums weren't playing, so everything got louder, and then the drums came back in and everything got quieter because the drums are triggering the limiter because they're too loud.
Your love overwhelms and satisfies my soul, and I never ever have to be afraid.
All right, so really two things to focus on to get your sound better. Bring the drums down, number one, and number two is we need some reverb on those vocals. They're sounding a little dry. So yeah, those two things go and take your mix really to the next level, and then you can resubmit it after that. We can keep going from there.
Apologies for our capture card having issues today. Keeps on going in and out. They told me he didn't want me to comment on their visuals, so I'm going to just shut up.
You think it might be because my laptop is super old? I'm at this phase right now where all of my devices are reaching the end of their lifespan. Found out that my iPad is like 7 or 8 years old, and that would explain why the battery dies so fast. And my MacBook is 6 or 7 years old now. I'm trying to squeeze the last bit of life out of it.
Yeah, he's still on the MacBook that everybody hated, the one with the butterfly keyboard and the first touch bar model. But at least it's still working for the most part.
Yeah. You see, when I was younger, I used to love buying new gear. Now that I'm getting older, I hate buying new gear. I'm like, man, especially when I have to go get a new phone. What a waste. What a waste of money.
Well, anyway, I'm just going to comment what Josh said. I'd move that camera up a bit, balance out the stage to be a bit more centered, and I feel like the scrolling lyrics are kind of funny, maybe a little distracting. I was going to say that, but I was also kind of intrigued by it. I was wondering what software you're using to do that. It is kind of nice to be able to see what's coming up next, I guess. I'd have to ask someone in the congregation what they would think of lyrics like that, if they were able to see what's coming up next, if that was helpful to them or not. Because I know, like, up on the stage, we have a confidence monitor to look at, and it's showing you what the next slide says, and that's really helpful sometimes.
No, I think as long as it's switching before you need it, we're good.
Maybe it's too much information if you have a next slide information on there.
Yeah. I remember Dylan's wife got her first run at Pro Presenter the other day at church.
She had a good time.
She wasn't switching those slides quite fast enough, so nobody knew what to sing.
It's all right. She did good for her first time.
A for effort. Yeah. You don't know until you get going. It's really kind of weird to hit the change before whenever you're not used to it.
Well, it's especially since we're used to lyric cues, so everything is perfectly on time from our backing tracks. We just had a service where we weren't using tracks at all, so it had to be manned.
Yeah, I probably got spoiled by that, huh?
Or womaned in that case.
Womaned. All right, we got any questions? Oh, sorry, Sam, I told your secret.
It wasn't me, babe.
Dylan didn't do it. All right, next up is Deliverance Assemblies of God. And let's see, they're looking for a few things here. Number one, their band doesn't show up to rehearsal. They're all volunteers. Their drummer will not tune the drum heads. They show up late every time for rehearsal and church service. Number three, vocalists run up late for rehearsal. Lack of cohesion between the worship team and the band, which would be the result of people not showing up for rehearsal. So before we get into actually listening to this stream, Dylan, those are things that we don't have to listen to talk about. What should they do?
That's tricky because I bet you only have one person for each of those positions. And you're like, if I run them off, then I ain't got a drummer. I'm assuming that's the case.
Let's hear some tips in the comments too, whenever you have kind of a team culture that needs a fixing. Like everybody's showing up late, things like that. How do we go about fixing those issues?
You know, I'd say a good thing to do is probably a reset in terms of expectations. Maybe take everybody out to dinner and share the vision of what you're trying to accomplish with worship at your church and what it's going to take to accomplish that vision. And really tie that into the importance that they're all playing in furthering God's kingdom. You know, they're not just getting up there to play an instrument. It's a much bigger role than that. So expand their vision of what they're doing, their importance in the position that they're in, make them feel important, and just go above and beyond for them too, because if you do that, I think they'll go above and beyond for you. So check your heart first, make sure that you're doing everything you can to help them win. And then if they're still having problems, do what I just talked about, and then maybe even have some one-on-one conversations too, to just explain specific areas that they may be struggling and how that's affecting the worship team as a whole. Some people, I think, just aren't very self-aware, unfortunately, so they need to be told sometimes. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and people struggle with honesty too. So you're miserable because you're not reaching, you're not what you want to be as a worship band or whatever, and likelihood is they're miserable too, but they're not going to say that. So at that same, like, take everybody out to dinner like Dylan recommended, I would also just say, hey, so I'm kind of looking around and realizing that we're all miserable, and here's why, and here's some things that we can do to fix the solution. Like, just kind of air the laundry, right? Let them know that, like, we're all seeing this and we're all struggling.
Taking out dinner is a good idea too, because it kind of takes everybody's guard down, as opposed to just like, hey, let's have a meeting at the church. Everybody's a little more calm at a dinner. And if you can't afford to do that, maybe ask your leadership if you can use the church card to take them out to dinner.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well,
did anybody have any comments on that?
That's a very simple thing you can do for your volunteers, is feed them. I mean, they're volunteering their time. And a lot of churches have a hard time with that for some reason, but that's a great investment into your volunteers. Samuel says to sell the why it's important. Explain that it affects everyone when they're late, or how it hurts the team. Yep, good point.
In terms of the drum tuning, if the drummer is not going to tune them, maybe he just doesn't really know how to do it properly. Maybe he needs some training, or maybe you can just learn how to do it and tune them before he gets there.
Yeah.
I mean, as the worship leader, I would see that as something that falls under your responsibility, whether you train the person to do it or whether you just see to it that it's done. So whatever way you want to do that. What I did is me and our drummer, we went up to Drum World, which is a drum shop here in town. And the owner is like, he's renowned around here as like one of probably the smartest drummers we have around. And so we go to him for information a lot. And we went up there, and I asked Matt at Drum World, I was like, can we just come up here and you show me and our drummer how to properly tune drums? We'll pay you for it. And he's like, don't even worry about paying. Just come up here and I'll give you a little demonstration. So he did that. So I got to see how drums are properly tuned, and then so did our drummer. And our drummer, from there, he had a really good understanding of how to do it, and he does it every Sunday now.
Why did you not record that so we could post it on Collaborate Worship?
I should have.
Good grief.
Maybe I'll ask him if we can do it again. I don't remember.
Yep, but that's good. Provide the training, and that'll probably relieve the guys' insecurities about tuning the drums, and then, or gals. There's girl drummers too. We actually had one for a while.
Oh, I will say one funny tactic you can do is let's say rehearsals at 9 a.m. and they keep showing up at 9:10. whoever's there at 9 a.m., just start.
Yeah.
And as soon as they come in and hear everybody's just rehearsing already, they're going to feel pretty bad about it. And after a few times of that, I think they'll probably start showing up on time, because it makes you feel pretty dumb when you come in and everybody's already practicing, because you really feel like you wasted their time.
That's true.
It's like kind of opposite of what you would think. You'd think it'd feel like you're wasting their time if you haven't started yet. But I've been in that scenario back when I was a kid and Cade was worship leader. He would do that sometimes, and you feel pretty crappy.
I used to be so intense, actually, as a worship leader that I had a problem with it was my best friend. He played guitar for the team, and he showed up late time and time again. So finally he showed up late, and I said, "You're not playing today. Sit down, buddy."
You actually did that to me when I didn't practice very well, and it showed during rehearsal.
Yep.
You said, "You ain't playing today, boy."
Sit yourself down. We show up prepared.
I came prepared the next week, I'll say that.
Hey, it worked. Sometimes extreme measures are needed. I have this passion for protecting the team. And so if you have to hurt an individual's feelings for a short period of time to do that, then sometimes it's necessary. I know not everybody agrees with that, but nevertheless, if you want to use that tidbit of advice, take it. If you want to shun it, then you can shun it. All right, here we go. Let's take a listen to this. All right, so first thing is you need to bring the overall live stream down in volume, because you're getting a lot of distortion because you're pushing it too hard. And I don't have to even turn it up very loud to get it where it needs to be. So you have some headroom there. So just bring that down. Other than that, you have a pretty good thing going on.
I love all the joy on the stage.
Yeah.
Everybody looks like they're having a good time.
A couple things that I would change is just bringing the lead vocal up in the mix. Everything else is good mix-wise. Well, maybe bass guitar down. Lead vocal up, bass guitar down. And those are just small adjustments. Other than that, it sounds good. What do you think about visuals, Dylan?
Well, our feed here is really struggling at this point. Hopefully you've seen enough of it to have an idea. So I would just say you're a little overexposed. That's the one thing I notice off the bat. So I just drop your exposure a little bit. I think it's mostly to do with the camera not having enough dynamic range to deal with the dark skin tones and the white clothing.
I fixed it. It just needed my touch over here.
That's really tricky for a camera with not enough dynamic range. I'll say that. So don't feel too bad about the overexposure, but just see if you can drop it down a little bit. If it makes skin tones too dark, you might just have to deal with some overexposed shirts. I mean, I'd always prioritize for skin tones over anything else. We'll see if Josh disagrees. Also looks like, I can't tell if the camera is skewed or if something on the background is, but if you look at the words behind them, they're not level. So see if you can level that out. Other than that, looks good for what you're working with. So good job.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for sending that in. All right, we got one left.
Uno mas.
Let's see here. Our live stream has too much noise, distortion, and volume is too low. All right, don't look back, but that's not the First Pentecostal Church. All right, here we go.
And then those that remain will be quickly changed. At the midnight cry, when Jesus comes again.
All right, some really strange things going on in there. It's kind of hard to figure. We have a technology problem there somewhere. Somewhere there's a what do you call it? I'm totally blinking out. Like
Interference, distortion.
no, there's like there's something along the way that's just messing with the sound. Like maybe you're converting. That's the word that I was thinking of. They're converting the audio maybe to an RCA or something like that is going on that's degrading the sound. So what I need you to do is get in the inner circle or in the all access chat on Slack and post in there on the questions channel and just let us know like kind of what your setup is. Maybe even take some pictures and post that too so we can look at like here's how the audio is actually getting to the live stream. And then we can go from there. And you may even want to schedule a one-on-one coaching call with us so that we can really dive in and figure out what's going on there. So that's something that we're going to have to discuss once we know more about your setup. Something that I noticed that you could do to make your sound better is you need a low-cut filter on that vocal. There was a lot of low end to his vocal. It wasn't very clear at all. So set a low-cut filter on him at like 180 hertz. And that's going to make a big difference. And do that on all of your vocal mics. Let's scrub through here real quick and see if there's a time when the instruments are playing. Because I know that was kind of like a track that he was singing to. Let's see. Let's listen here. Oh, you hear that interference noise?
Mm-hmm.
See, there's a cable issue going on somewhere. Or maybe you're using the wrong kind of cable, but we can help you sort that out. Yeah, so whatever that is kind of like just creating this audio filter that's messing the whole thing up. So I don't really want to give you any other advice at this point until we get that resolved. Once we get that resolved, the audio will clean up, and then we can give you some advice from there to make it better. Dylan, what do you think about visuals?
It's a little overexposed, and then I'd like for it to be zoomed in to the stage some more. It's just really hard to see anything. Everybody kind of looks like an ant. I don't know if you have that possibility. Did he put what kind of camera system he has on the sheet?
Let me take a look.
Take a look.
No. Wait. Got a big long list here. Maxwell, HDMI capture. Got some choir mics. Nope, nothing about the camera.
Well, if you have the option to zoom in, I would try zooming into the stage. It looks like you're going for being able to see, everything, the congregation, your little chandeliers you got going on there. I would love for it to be zoomed in to where the chandeliers are just out of the shot. So it's kind of getting everything in the middle of the stage. That means you're probably going to cut off those two people on the very sides of the stage.
Oh, don't cut out the piano players.
I know, but
I'm just playing with you. I'm a piano player, so I think we should just zoom right in on the piano. That grand piano is beautiful.
Perfect. They're just a little too far off to the side there to include in the shot that I would like, if that makes sense. We have an electric guitar that we cut out because he just stands too far off to the side.
I think he does it on purpose.
I'm like, sorry, Tim.
I think he learned where the spot is. That's off camera.
Well, I just got everything else framed how I like it, and he just stands a little too far off to the side. And so is what it is. He probably likes it, like you said. Anyway, that's all I got.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you for sending these in. It's always a pleasure to see what's going on out there and help each other out. Thanks for everybody who's been in the comments, helping out too. Thank you, Josh, for all of your helpful comments. If you haven't checked out Josh's channel, go do that because that guy's got it going on.
We need to get him down to the Tulsa area sometime.
Yeah, we do some collaborations and such.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, like we said at the beginning of the video or of this live stream, we have a free video series for you, which we think that you should go get because it's really going to help you out. It's called Consistent Great Sound. So unless you're like Dylan, who wants inconsistent, mediocre sound.
I don't actually want that.
Go get that free video series. You can get access for free using the link in the description, or you go to collaborateworship.com. And it'll be in the bar. You get click the bar at the top. It'll get you where you need to go. It gives you 5 simple techniques that you can implement at your church to get consistent, great sound, which is something we're all looking for.